The first mistake that beginners make is not mixing the thin set to the appropriate consistency and applying it properly. So for example, I mixed the Schluter all set to the membrane consistency and applied it to both the floor, the side of my shower tray, as well as the walls. Now another huge tip is to hold the trowel at a 45-degree angle to the surface. And you can see all my trowel notches are parallel and they're standing up. And this is really important for the curb. The second mistake is not using the right curb height. So in this example, I'm actually using a 2-inch piece of Curdy board. This is solid foam. Don't worry, it can withstand any weight that you put on top of it. Any shower glass will be able to support this. I then apply more thin set to the top. All the trowel notches are facing the same direction because I'm actually going to raise the height of this. And the reason why is we want this curb to be to the height such that our tile layout won't have any slivers where the tile goes up and over the curb. By the way, another huge tip is to remove the thin set on the face of the curb as well as the floor. We don't want any thin set build up there. I'm actually adding 2 pieces of 1/2-inch Curdy board to build up my height, and I'm also going to be pitching this just a little bit toward the shower. More on that in a moment. The third mistake is not making the curb equidistant off the main shower wall. So one way to accomplish this is to add 2x4s outside the shower. This stabilizes the curb and keeps it in the spot that you want. So for example, if this is a 36-inch wide shower, I want that dimension both on the left and the right so that inside the shower, I'm going to have even cuts with my tile shower floor. Another huge mistake is not making the curb top level left to right, but pitched just a little bit inside the shower. By a little bit, I mean in this case, no more than 1/16 of an inch, because then that way when water hits the door, then goes onto the curb, the water will drain back into the shower. And by the way, if you're having custom glass put across the top here, sometimes those glass installers will not install the glass unless there's a pitch to the curb. So keep that in mind. The fifth mistake is not waterproofing the corners, the inside corners, properly. So sometimes these corners come with the Curdy drain. Keep that in mind. I'm going to set this such that it's flat in the corner, and I'm going to use Schluter Curdy Fix to accomplish that. Now this is optional, but I place the Curdy Fix bead on the 3 corners, the 3 inside corners, so 2 horizontal, 1 vertical. Then I apply thin set using a 3-inch joint compound knife. This is just to get thin set onto the wall. So again, it's on the main wall, on the side wall, as well as the shower floor. Then I use the Curdy trowel, hold that at a 45-degree angle, and what that does is maximize the notch. So again, you can see I have my thin set and I have my Curdy Fix in the corners. Then I set the inside corner, and this is where the magic happens. The reason why I have that Curdy Fix in the corner is it keeps that thin set build up to a minimum. It makes the corner nice and flat up against the floor and the walls, and it won't interfere with my tile work. You'll see here in a moment, after I express out some of the thin set and sponge it off, that this is completely flat. There's very minimal thin set buildup, and the same thing applies up against the curb. It's exactly the same, but I cut that inside corner down. By the way, if you're enjoying this tutorial and you want more tips on bathroom renovation, visit my website at homerepairtutor.com, where we have more written tutorials as well as online courses that'll help you complete your project and make it a lot easier. Inside corners are not enough for curbs. Remember, you have to waterproof with an outside corner as well, and it has to overlap the inside corner by at least 2 inches. You can cut these down to accomplish that. But again, I apply Curdy Fix to the top and the sides of the curb, just in those little crevices there. Then I apply my thin set with my joint compound knife, trowel that with the Curdy trowel, and what I do is bond the outside corner to that. Now, one additional tip, I do soak this in water, wring it out, and then I embed it, and that gets this outside corner to sit nice and flat. Then I remove the excess thin set with my joint compound knife, sponge that off, and what you'll see here again is there's very minimal buildup whatsoever if you do this method. Yet that Curdy Fix keeps the outside corner nice and stuck to the curb as well as the walls and the other inside corner. For custom curbs like this, there's one final step, actually two. So I'll show you the first step, and that is to waterproof the transition between the curb and the shower pan. So again, I apply my CurdyFix to that transition between the curb and the shower pan. Then I apply a thin set using a 6-inch joint compound knife, both to the pan, the side of the curb, as well as the top. I do both sides, as a matter of fact. Then I trowel all that thin set using the Curdy trowel. Once again, all the trowel notches are parallel to each other and facing the same direction. Then I'm using a 7-inch piece. Yes, they make 7-inch pieces of Curdy band. I'm wrapping it up and over the curb and inside the shower pan. This has to extend 2 inches, at least 2 inches, beyond any transition between the curb and the pan. You want to make sure this is completely flat. I press that into the thin set and I express out just a little bit of the thin set while keeping the Curdy membrane flat up against the pan, removing any wrinkles. And then I use 2 knives to wrap the banding, again, a little bit tighter up against the pan, as well as up and over the shower curb. I use my sponge as well to remove any of that excess thin set. That helps me get everything nice and flat. One of the final steps is to waterproof the corner outside the shower, just in case water will get outside the shower door. So I do this for both sides. I apply my thin set. You can see I have my bead of CurdyFix there. Again, the CurdyFix is optional, but I really like it because it helps me keep these inside and outside corners, as well as the Curdy band, as flat as possible, reduce that thin set buildup, and help me out with the tile work. You can see how flat these edges are. I do recommend waterproofing the curb up against Ditra, but I didn't have that installed before I finished the curb. Hopefully you got some great tips. If you did, like this video, and if you got any more questions, check out homerepairtutor.com, where we have more written tutorials and a ton of great courses. So hopefully we'll see you there.